YouTube, this is your girl Alia. Welcome to Fan of Life ND. In today's video, I'm going to be responding to a request to talk about the interview process, and I'm also going to be talking about the essay part of the application process. I'm not too sure if I touched upon that in the video that I made over the summer, Becoming a Naturopathic Doctor. I'll just post it over here if you want to take a look at it. So I'll be talking about it based on my experience, and hopefully this will provide you with some insight. In this video, if you look in the description box below, you'll be able to see it broken down into segments. That way, if you have a certain topic you're more interested in hearing about, then you can just click down there and you can zoom right in. So without further ado, let's begin. First of all, I think it's really important that you do your research. We are in the age of Google, so there's no reason that you can't take a few minutes to just do some research and see what's out there. Do some research on the school, see what other students have been saying. Do some research to see if there's other student blogs who are talking about their experiences of the process for applying for the school, the interview process. When I was trying to get some more information about the interview process, such as what questions would be asked, I actually looked at Erica Robinson's blog, and I'll post her information below if you want to check that out. And she talked about her experience of the interview process. Go look to see if they have a page for prospective students. Back when I was thinking of, back when I decided that I was going to apply, there was a paper document application on the website, and in that they had 3 essay questions that were going to be, that applicants had to talk about or had to write about. And that's kind of what I went with. Although the questions were changed the later year, at least you get a feel for what types of questions are going to be asked. Also, do some research on just potential questions that will be asked in any interview situation, just so that you're comfortable with being in an interview setting, and then try to make it more specific to what you're applying for. So if you're applying to study medicine or going to professional school, then look around and see if there are any forums or any resources out there that give you some questions that would be asked in those types of situations, and go through them, practice them. And that actually brings me to my next point, doing mock interviews. So in a future video, I'm going to be talking more about my personal experience with the whole interview and essay writing process, but I think it's really important that you put yourself in a situation as much as you can before you're actually in the real situation. That way you have some practice, and that way you're not seeing things or experiencing things for the first time. So if you have the equivalent of a guidance counselor if you're studying university or college, my school had an academic advising and career center, and there I met with a really helpful individual who helped me throughout this whole application process. And I booked a few appointments with her, and I did some mock interviews with her, and she just found some questions which are relevant to what I was interested in, which was this field. And I came in, I dressed up as if I was really going to be doing an interview, and she asked me the questions. She pretended that she was actually a person who was evaluating whether I would be a good fit, and then after I gave my answers, she gave me feedback. So she gave me feedback on how my answers were, how I expressed my answers, some of my body language. I remember something as simple as when I was answering a question, I just stopped and took a sip of water and didn't even excuse myself. Something as simple as that could be misinterpreted. So just having somebody to kind of watch you, and not judgmentally, but in a constructively critical way, can help you to pinpoint things that you may not be aware of. And that way, when you're actually in the interview situation, then at least you can be aware of those things and comfortable with answering questions such as those. I also want to add that with doing the mock interviews, the point of it is not to be able to the point is not to know all the questions that are coming up and to kind of script an answer. It's not meant for you to be an actor. It's just a way for you to kind of get an idea of how much eye contact are you making, how are your voice inflections, how's your tone, how's the speed that you're speaking in. It's not meant for you to fake your way through the interview. It's just meant for you to be to provide a source of preparation and so that you're comfortable, but by no means is it meant as a way for you to create a false identity, false answers that are not genuine to who you are. That's not the point of doing mock interviews. So bringing it back a bit to the essay component of the application, it's really important that you spend time preparing for this. Give yourself, a few weeks to prepare for what you're going to say. So read through the questions, think about first of all, what answers are you going to give? What impression do you want to give of yourself? You want it to be accurate, you want it to be honest, and you want it to be thoughtful. You don't want it to be dry, you want it to reflect who you are. Think about the structure of it. How do you want to style it? Think about, are you touching on components that are really important? So I'll talk about what I did more when I talk about my experience, but I related my interest in health and wanting to study naturopathic medicine to things that are really personal to me, such as my personal health. For example, migraines, for example, just my family's history and what they've been through with the medical system, and just wanting to change that for the future and be a health person within my family, a source of health information within my family. So make it personal and make it relative to what it is that you want to study. Also make sure that it's organized. You don't want to just drone on without any sense of structure. Something that I did for my essay is I went through many drafts. The first draft was just jot notes of what do I want to get across. The second draft was just making an essay with no structure at all, just writing down everything, putting it in one document. The third draft was kind of seeing, okay, what things can be removed, what things are repeated, or what things link better, and more structuring of that essay. And the fourth draft was just making sure that I fit everything within a certain word limit, because there usually are word limits and you really need to stick to that. And then for one of my final drafts, I actually brought it to the career counselor who helped me throughout my whole process of applying to study in this program, and she would give me some input, and then from there I tweaked it further, and then I saw her again and I tweaked it even further. And so it was a process. It took me several months to write my essay, but at the end I was very happy with the product, and I felt that, you know what, even if I don't get into the school, at least I gave myself the time, I thought about it thoroughly, and I gave my best effort. The last thing you want to do is rush through this process and then not feel confident in yourself because of the essay component. So now let's fast forward to the interview. You've gotten a call back and you're scheduled to have your interview tomorrow morning. What are some things that you want to do? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you know what you're going to be wearing to the interview. You want to make sure that you have it laid out, you have it nice and clean, nice and pressed, and just going along with dressing professionally. For females, that means not showing any cleavage. I don't know what people are applying for, but I'm just going based on studying a professional program. So no cleavage, making sure you have dress nicely, professionally, with whether it's a dress shirt or a nice jacket, wearing a waist belt, for wearing dress pants or a skirt, wearing nice shoes, not running shoes, so dress shoes. And for the guys, I'm not too sure about how to dress stylishly for the guys, but I feel like it's easier sometimes just wear nice dress pants, nice shirt, nice dress shirt, nice tie or bow, and you're good. When you feel like you look good, you feel like you're ready to do well as well. And so make sure that you arrive early for the interview. Very negative impression if you show up late. This is one of the most important days and you don't want to be late for it, so show up early. I personally showed up too early. I was way too excited and I was paranoid that the public transportation system would fail on me. I was scared that maybe it would get backed up. I actually arrived for my interview an hour early, and that wasn't the best idea because I sat there being nervous and going through things over and over again in my head. So I would say the ideal time is between 15 minutes and half an hour. You don't want to arrive too early because you don't want to be going through too many things in your head. And once you arrive, make sure that you ground yourself. It's really important. I say this for exams. Make sure you ground yourself. And some things that I told myself when I was grounding myself, that, okay, I've worked as hard as I can. I did everything that I needed to do to get here. and I'm going to do the best that I can. I trust that things will work out as they should. I will do my best, and if things don't turn out this way, I may try again, or I may decide that there's another path for me, but before I get there, I'm just going to give my best effort. Now, in terms of actually when you're actually arriving to wherever you're doing your interview, you want to make sure that even before you get there, be nice to everyone, because you want to have that positive energy around you. You should just, okay, I don't want to say you should be doing this or you should be doing that, but I just believe that when you're nice to people, it just comes back. Some people just are having a bad day and are not friendly, but you don't want to emit that vibe because you don't want it to frown upon your day. It's really especially important once you get into the building that you're doing your interview in, because you don't know who is who. You don't know who's connected with who. Everybody in that building is important. Everybody in that elevator going up to that building is important, because you don't know who's connected with you. There's a common example. If you're going for a job interview, you see the receptionist in the elevator. You don't know that's the receptionist, but the receptionist is the closest person to the boss. The person who would be your boss. If you're a snob to that receptionist, doesn't matter how great your interview goes, the receptionist actually has a huge influence on whether or not you get that job. So you just want to radiate positivity to everyone around you, and I don't just believe in that just for the sake of getting good on the interview. I just believe that it makes you feel good inside, and it makes you feel better when you're doing your interview, because you've just had a day full of just positivity and happiness. If you do, when you do arrive there early, in addition to grounding yourself, you may want to just quickly review some common questions that you came across during your mock interviews, and just remind yourself of why you want to be here, and what is it about you that you want to come across. What are the main themes that you want to come across through your interview? Like, for example, what is your personality like? Why were you drawn to the field that you're trying to get involved in? What are some of your important virtues? What are some of your strong beliefs? And why do you think you're a good fit? So there are some general questions that stem across everywhere, whether it's for a job, whether it's for school, whether it's for volunteering, and those are: why do you want to be here, what do you have to offer us, and why do you feel that you're a good fit? So thinking of things like that. But don't be like me and go over it too much in your head. Don't give yourself too much time by getting there too early. So now you're actually in the interview, you're facing your interviewers, and it's go time. So I'm just thinking about some of the questions that were asked, and I'll talk about that more when I talk about my interview experience. But in terms of just answering questions, there is a logical way you want to answer them. So if a question is asked, you're going to want to give an answer that's relevant to the question, and give your rationale for why you're choosing that answer for that question. So just to think of an example, one of the toughest questions for me is, tell us about yourself. And when I did the mock interview with my career counselor, I blanked. I didn't know what to say. I stumbled. So that was when I really thought about, and I thought about what do I want to come across. You want it to be a good amount of time. I think the ideal amount of time is between, say, 30 seconds and 2 minutes. You don't want to go too long, but you don't want to give too abrupt of an answer. And I thought about, okay, well, what is important to me, and how is it relevant to the field of naturopathic medicine? So, sorry, that was just an alarm. I'm doing laundry, so I have to go grab it. But some of the things that I thought about were, what's important to me, and how is that drawn me to the field, and how would that affect me being a good fit for the field? So what drew me to the field, that is a huge component of who I am, is my love for fitness, my love for natural hair, and just my love for my family and wanting to have health in my family. And so I talked about my family, you know, having a younger brother and being very important to me. I talked about getting involved in fitness and how it has changed my life, and how I would like to expand on that knowledge by studying within this field. And I talked about so health, family, fitness, and I talked about just my personal my personal things such as natural hair, going natural, why I chose to go natural, and how I hope to have a positive effect on the field, and just talking about my personal search for how to help deal with, or help to cope with or treat the migraines that I experience, and just my negative experience with the medical system, and how that led me onto this path. So that's why it's really good to think about these questions beforehand, because you can really think about how do you put yourself into the answer. It's basically, who are you and how does that connect to the field? Where do they cross over? I find that one of the most difficult things in interviews is answering those tough questions of, where are your weaknesses? Where do your weaknesses lie? Because on one hand, you don't want to make yourself out to look like you think you're perfect, that you have no flaws, and that yeah, there's no way you can improve. But on the other hand, you don't want to come off as not having strength and not being a leader and not knowing anything at all. So I found that I thought of some examples ahead of time, and the way I answered these questions was, I thought about different situations in where I felt like, okay, something feels wrong within me. I wish that I could be stronger in this situation. What would I do differently? And how have I done something differently? So just a simple example would be just being involved in an activity, doing some teamwork things. I remember working with somebody who was very dominant personality, and I can be the opposite. It's something I'm working on. But I remember there were times when I couldn't stand my ground, and I was fearful of this person. And that really made me feel sick to my stomach, because I don't want to get stepped on, especially if I'm going to be a leader in health. I don't want to be stepped on. So basically what I said that my weakness was standing up for myself and having confidence that in my own intuition, and confidence in leading when being kind of dominated, and allowing myself to be dominated. And I just gave examples of how I've been working on that. So learning about how to be a leader, and learning about myself, and what is it about my past or my present that causes me to feel scared in these situations, and just some exercises to kind of increase my confidence in myself, and just doing things like going out of my comfort zone, and just real life examples of how I've been trying to improve upon this weakness. So in that sense, I'm not showing myself as this, person that just has weaknesses and is not trying to improve on them, but I'm also not showing myself as a perfect cocky person who can't improve in any way. So I hope you found this video to be helpful. Please let me know if you have any specific questions, if there was something that I didn't touch upon that you would have liked me to touch upon. I'll be making a video in the future about my personal interview experience. It makes me really happy when I think about it, because I can't believe that I can remember it so vividly, but it feels kind of strange to be making this video and thinking that I'm almost halfway through second year, and I just remember going through this whole process. So it's definitely, I think it's a good process to go through, because it lets you see within yourself that you're committed to something, and it's just one step along the journey. So thank you for sending in that question. I'm so happy to talk about it, and I'll be making a video about my personal experience of my interview, and I'll also be making a video about my hair. Of course, it's reaching the 1 year 6 month lock anniversary, and I'm also going to be making a video about it's kind of a release video. So something I learned was about sometimes just not holding on to something and releasing it. And in this sense, I want to finally give you all the story about my migraines. I mention it in so many videos, and in a way I feel like it's my way of holding on to something, and it's kind of preventing me from moving forward and getting rid of those migraines, for life. So I'm going to be making a release video about my migraines. So please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be very happy to help you out, and I hope you found this video useful. Have a wonderful week, and until next time, peace out.